Greetings and salutations, everyone! My name is Fire Mage, and welcome back to Rimworld Ascension Take 2, Episode 63. If you enjoy this episode, please remember to like and subscribe, and as always, mod list is down in the description. And with that, let's get on to the episode. Alright, well, picking up where we left off last time, what are my plans for today? Well, after last episode's unfortunate miscalculation, let's call it, with going to space and thus losing Bicep, today we are just going to focus on the building of the choke point and, if we can, going to get some plasteel from the long-range mineral scanner, because we still need that. Now, with Bicep gone, that does mean our deep drilling operation is going to be a bit more difficult, because now we are unable to do both the deep chem and the steel, only being able to do one or the other. That is going to be quite the hindrance. And it would seem that a bulk goods trader is passing by in orbit. Well, that is rather convenient, as Bella Rose was just making her way into the storage room. Well, let's see what all this trader has to offer. Right off the bat, they do have some dogs, which could be interesting if we had more food. And they do have some chem fuel. We'll go ahead and grab that, as well as all of their components, advanced components, and mechanoid components. We will, as usual, sell off all of our unnecessary leathers that we do not need. Purchase their medicine. And let's see. They do have some steel. We'll purchase that as well. Some plasteel, definitely going to purchase that. And some rather interesting books. Well, definitely think we're going to grab Neuron's Intro to Physics and Spices. That is a legendary book. Very useful. Same as Barrack's Handbook for Knighthood. That's another good one. And I think that is all of the books we will purchase. And why not? We'll buy their wood too. And that gets us to negative 8,358 silver. That is most of our silver. A worthy trade. Because we desperately need these resources. And there we are. All the resources we will need for the foreseeable future. Let's go ahead. Get all of those hauled to where they need to go. Excellent. And now we don't really have to worry about the plasteel issue. And there we are, Masonry and Metallics Factory, and that will permit us to make an infinite source of steel. And we will be getting on that in just a moment, but first we are actually going to go back to vehicles and research complex vehicles. Now, I don't want any of the vehicles that this gets me, however, as you can see here, it unlocks all these different options. Now, we can't research these, I do not believe, until we find and repair them. However, we do have one of those on our map over here in the form of the self-propelled artillery, and I would like to see if that is something worth investing in. So, we will research complex vehicles so that we can see if building more of them will be worth it once we restore that wreck. Now, going back to the factory stuff we just researched. The automatic drill is relatively expensive, but with our little injection of resources, it is more than able to be built. So the masonry and metallics factory we just researched, while it doesn't give us the ability to make the steel, that's in electronics fabrication, the steel extractor, it does still allow us to get stone chunks, which is going to be very important, as well, we're completely out of them, and we could use them. Plus, I think the masonry saw may actually be able to make the concrete bricks we need. Perhaps. Not entirely sure, but it could be worth checking to see if that is a thing we can do. So let's go ahead and set up a very basic factory. We will start with factory floors in order to dictate where we're placing the factory. And I think the first factory will go right about here. Like so. And while we do need to build that, we can see that it should fit quite nicely. So we'll go ahead, grab our constructors, and have them prioritize working on that real quick, so that we can get a good visual for our first factory. And it would seem that we have found the plasteel deposit. Although there is activity that is likely hostile. Once again, just like the last component pile. Unfortunate. I don't think we'll be worrying too much about going to get that right now, as we have 416 plasteel in reserve. Oh, never mind, we also just found even more plasteel. 2 for the price of 1, apparently. And that one doesn't have hostiles, so we might actually go get that one. Well, in that case, I think we can safely retune the long-range scanner, and this time we will tune it to uranium, as we are down to 148 uranium, and we're going to need quite a bit more. And there we are, our very first factory floor, which means we can now set up the automatic drill and the masonry saw, and if this works the way I think it does, it should hopefully output some concrete blocks. But if it doesn't, we'll simply tear this down and have it just produce chunks as normal. Alright, and with those blueprints thrown down, we will simply wait for that to get built. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, we should probably put some basic walls up around it, just in case. Little something like this should do just fine. Doesn't need to be anything too terribly fancy. And it'll probably be a while before they get to work on that, since they're primarily focusing on getting the defenses up and running. So that'll just be another project being worked on in the background. Oh, and it would seem Chris and the Best are getting married. Very nice. Hopefully this marriage goes better than the last one we had. And let's go ahead and throw down a marriage spot right here. A perfect little location to place it. Well, hopefully that marriage goes well, because that'll be 2 people who have a much higher base mood than the rest of the colony. And there we go. Complex vehicles is done. And with that, as soon as we start repairing some of these more interesting vehicles, we'll be able to research and then produce them. And now we're going once again back to the factory stuff and doing electronics fabrication, because I really want that steel extractor. And honestly, the component assembler probably wouldn't be too bad to get either. I'm pretty sure that only requires an input of steel, so that would give us a much easier way to get components. And also probably, in the long run, a lot cheaper. Alright, well, it looks like we have found a compacted steel lump nearby. Now, I did have to change it from finding uranium to steel, because I came to the realization we are once again out of steel completely. So, let's go see where this steel lump is. Alright, so it's not too terribly far away. And seeing as right now we are out of steel, I think we're going to go ahead and load up the caravan to go get that. Wiggy will drive this one, and the War Casket Reaper and White will be going in the other one. As for the resources, we'll simply send them with the pemmican, and we then just send them off, and they should get there in 0.4 days. And our caravan has arrived at the compacted steel. Excellent. With only one miner, however, it will take a little longer to mine it out, especially considering our one miner is Wiggy, who is not the best, but they will have to do as they are the only option we really have. But I suppose that means that we will have plenty of time to chop down some trees. And we'll just let them get to work on that, and we'll check back in on them in a little bit when they're done. And there we go. The electronics fabrication factory is done, and that means we can now build the steel extractor. Very good indeed. Next up, we will be doing the rocket swarm launcher, so that we can have a little bit more firepower for the trench network up here. Never hurts to have just a bit more firepower. But now that we have researched the steel extractor, I actually think it will be more beneficial to build one of them as opposed to the masonry saw. So we'll be placing one of those here instead. Should be more useful. And there we are. All the steel has been mined, getting us to 1,776 steel. And white has also been hard at work, getting us 1,816 wood. Not bad, not bad at all. Let's go ahead and reform the caravan. And then all we have to do is grab up all of our goodies. And that, I do believe, was a most successful mining and lumber trip. And on top of that, Nomux has been recruited to the colony. What are you good at? Not a whole lot. Yikes, okay. Well, I suppose you can also aid in simply hauling things to where they need to go. Always need more people hauling, I guess. And there we go. The caravan has returned successful with their great bounty of resources. And with that, we should be able to finish up the new frontline defense and even the factories. Now all we need to do is find a little bit more uranium, and we will be good. And it would seem that our constructors have finally given our highwayman the final upgrade of off-road tires. Most excellent. That should hopefully help its off-roading speed. Also, now that we have all this wood and our storage warehouse is just a little bit full, first of all, I'm going to be expanding the wood shelves to include these ones back here. But also, I have once again kicked back on the make chem fuel from wood. So hopefully we will get enough chem fuel in our storage to soon build the chem fuel clarifier. That would be quite nice to get. And the rocket swarm launcher is researched, and that will give us the ability to take out large hordes of unarmored enemies. But for those with armor, we are going to research the uranium slug turret. Now, granted, those won't punch through war caskets, as we found out ourselves, but they will punch through things like marine armor, should that ever become a problem. So I think they might be a good investment. Now, as for the rocket swarm launchers, they are the same size as the autocannons, which is a slight problem. But I'm sure we'll find a way to squeeze them in here somewhere in the future, but we'll wait until the current stuff is built. But on that note, I think I'm going to leave this episode off here. We have made a lot of progress. We have already burned through all of that steel we just got, but we've also just about finished up the steel extractor and the automatic drill. If we focus on that, we should be able to get that done next episode and have a reliable source of steel. The frontline defense, while not fully finished, is almost there. The turrets are all there. All we have to do now is run the power conduit. And once that's done, well, it'll be a lot better than our old one. We have also begun harvesting our first field of corn from our grow zone. And I did learn, apparently fiber corn does not need the 51% light. It only needs 30. So, might be doing some changes over there soon enough. But with all that said and done, I will see you all in the next episode.